Okay, so you should be turned to 5-4, rhombus, rectangle, and square. You should also get your flow chart out because we're going to have some properties that we're going to add to it. Can I borrow this? Thank you. Get this out as well. Have this out every day so you can organize your rules here. You don't have to flip through all the different pages of your notes. Okay, rectangle. I'm going to ask you, for most of these, you guys are going to know the answer. Then we're going to go into a little more detail. First of all, what makes a rectangle a rectangle? Well, it's already quadrilateral. It already has 4 sides. What else is special? What else is special about a rectangle? Good idea.
4 sides. Oh, parallel.
Those are things that are true about parallelograms. But look at this. It's already got, can I borrow this? It's already got 4 sides. We know that. It's already got opposite sides parallel. But what makes it special beyond that? You guys, you know this from elementary. If it's not a parallelogram, if it's a rectangle, what made it different? 90 degrees. Say it again? 90 degrees. Yes, the angles. Right angles. 4 right angles. Okay, parallelograms are kind of slanted, but the rectangles have 4 right angles, 90-degree angles, which makes them square off like this. You already know everything that's true about a parallelogram. You already know that opposite sides are parallel, opposite sides are equal. Diagonals bisect each other. Same side angles are supplementary. All of those things are true. But in addition to that, you also get 4 right angles. All right, so here's a rule about rectangles. If a parallelogram is a rectangle, this is something you didn't know. Then its diagonals are congruent. So basically you have 4 equal pieces. The diagonals cut each other in half, but when it's a rectangle, the diagonals are also equal to each other. So if you draw this diagonal and this diagonal, then what you have is 4 equal pieces, because this half equals this half, but this half also equals this half. That's what's special about a diagonal and not a parallelogram, because instead of being slanted, it's upright, and it makes everything equal in that way. The only thing that's not equal is all 4 sides. Then you should also be able to say that AC, that diagonal, is congruent to BG. That is special about rectangles only. In a parallelogram, diagonal is not congruent. Only in a rectangle. Questions on that? All right, we're going to fill in all of our rules into the chart in a second. I want to go ahead and go through these quickly though, in case the third wants to crash. Go down to rhombus. Oh, look at that. I didn't even cover that. And a rhombus. A quadrilateral with 4 congruent sides. When you were younger, they might have called it a diamond. Okay, a rhombus is 4 congruent sides. It doesn't say anything about the angles. So what you need to realize is that all the rules about the parallelogram are still true. Opposite angles are congruent, and opposite sides are still congruent. The only thing is that there's something special that the 4 sides are congruent, but they're not necessarily right angles. So all it is this. It's a parallelogram. Opposite sides are parallel, but also all 4 sides are equal. Do the diagonals bisect each other? Yes, because it's still a parallelogram. Are the diagonals congruent? Are the diagonals congruent? No, because it's not a rectangle. Rhombuses do not necessarily have to have right angles. All right, so everything that's true about a parallelogram is true. The diagonals bisect each other. The diagonals do not have to be congruent. But in this case, every time you have a rhombus, the diagonals are perpendicular. Write that one down. That one's extremely important. Diagonals form right angles. And they're going to give you problems where they don't remind you of that. They just expect you to know that the diagonals are perpendicular. They make right angles. And also, each diagonal in a rhombus, they bisect pairs of opposite angles. So yes, they bisect each other, but look what else happens here when you have a rhombus. This diagonal, draw that diagonal, it cuts each angle in half. this half is equal to that half, and this half is equal to that half. And it happens for the other diagonal as well. It happens both ways. That's only in a rhombus. It's not in every single parallelogram. It's only in a rhombus and anything that's in the rhombus family. It's not even true for rectangles. It's only true for the rhombus and anything that comes out of a rhombus. Any questions on those? Do you see anything else here? Do you see anything here and here? No? Do you see congruent triangles there? Do you see the three-letter shortcut that would make these two triangles congruent? What's the green line? Reflexive. What did you say? Reflexive. Yeah, the green line is reflexive, right? So we have angle, side, angle. So what I want you to know is that anytime you have a rhombus, you also have all congruent parts. This triangle is congruent to this triangle, and CPCPC makes everything else work. And the last rule you need for today before we go into problems is a square. What do you know about a square already? 4 equal what? Sides, yep. And also 4 what? 4 right angles. A square is a combination of a rectangle and a rhombus. It does have 4 equal sides, and it also has 4 right angles. So it basically has all the properties of a rhombus, all the properties of a rectangle, all the properties of a parallelogram, and all the properties of a quadrilateral. And those are the rules that we're going to be using. Now, before you look at any problems, get your flow chart out. Let's get those things written in so that you can have a nice flow chart. And what I want you to see in this flow chart is that it's called a flow chart because it flows. Everything that's true here flows into all the other properties. Everything that's true from a parallelogram flows into what two shapes? Rectangle and a rhombus. So these 5 properties are also true for parallelogram, or for rectangles and for the rhombus. So let's go back and go with the first one. I think that's the rectangle. Find the rectangle on that chart and tell me the things you know. What do we know that makes a rectangle special? We always know the other things are true. But what's special then about a rectangle? The rule. What's the definition of a rectangle? 4 right angles. Okay, put that in on your chart. Rectangle has 4 right angles. That's what makes it a rectangle. There's other things that are true, but that's the definition. All right, and look up at your paper if you need to. What else is true about all rectangles? Let's do the diagonals. Diagonals are congruent, that's right. Are the diagonals still bisected? Yeah, but they also happen to be congruent. Anybody still writing? Go to the rhombus. Write down the word rhombus. Write down the definition of what makes a rhombus a rhombus. And a rhombus doesn't have to be sideways like that. It could be straight up. It just has to have 4 equal sides. What makes a rhombus a rhombus? Rectangle has 4 equal angles. What does a rhombus have? 4 equal sides. Yep, 4 sides congruent. Basically, in a rhombus, you have a whole bunch of congruent things because you get congruent triangles. All right, so what was the truth about diagonals? Diagonals are perpendicular, good. So when you see where the diagonals cross, you automatically have a right angle, and that's going to affect everything you do today. And also in a rhombus, what happens at the angles? They're bisected by the diagonal. The diagonal bisects the opposite angles. And basically you get 4 congruent angles. Opposite angles are equal, and then they're being cut in half by the diagonal. So far, you've got all of these. The last one is the square. Go ahead and locate the square and write the word square. And think about the definition. What makes a square a square? Yes, and yep, both of those are equally true. And what it makes is there's no special properties to a square. Everything that's true about parallelograms, rectangles, and rhombuses are all true about the square. So the diagonals are perpendicular. The diagonals bisect each other. The diagonals bisect angles. The diagonals are equal to each other. Anything down the left-hand side of your chart right here, anything here is automatically true for squares as well. Okay, so don't just look here. Look at everything that it comes out of. It's like these are the parents, and they pass their traits on to the child, but yet the child has unique traits of its own. Okay, so it has a little bit of both. All right. So let's look at the bud. Always, sometimes, or never. No, sorry, it's just a true or false. Bless you. True or false? That's false corrected. Look at your chart. Okay, yes, you're allowed to use notes, but your chart is even better. So look at your chart and tell me, do rhombuses have 4 congruent sides? Yes, that's true for that one. Figured them out already? Do rectangles have 4 congruent angles? What kind of angles do rectangles have? And right angles are all congruent, right? 90, 90, 90, 90. They would all match each other. So that one is yes. For right angles are always congruent. The diagonals of a rectangle bisect opposite angles. False. What shape has that rule? Rhombus. Good. So then I'm going to cross off rectangle and make it a rhombus. The diagonals of a rhombus are always congruent. Diagonals of a rhombus are always congruent. Look at your rhombus. False. Because one is always longer than the other. What shape has diagonals that are always congruent? Rectangle. So cross off the word rhombus and we use the word rectangle. Okay, questions? All right, turn to the back side. Let's try a couple together, then I'll give you 25 minutes to work on your homework and hopefully